Hey, what's up guys? Omar here, broker and CEO of Alden Mortgage and Omar Realty. So a big question we get a lot is understanding what's called seller credits. Okay, seller credits is also known as seller concessions. It's just anything that the seller gives you. Now, before we get this video started, a seller credit or a seller concession is only to help buy down the cost of any closing costs associated with the purchase of that property. Nothing more, nothing less. It helps with appraisal. It helps with anything that they want to get. There are limits to each and every single one of these, whether it is anywhere from, let's say, 1.5 points up to 3 points on the as a total loan. Investor loans are like between 2 and 2.5%. The conventional side is like 3, maybe a little bit more, depending. It always changes because of the guidelines. Now, the biggest misconception is can you use seller credits as far as going ahead and adjusting with the gap on appraisals? No, you can't. That is something aside where the buyer and the seller. Now, what is I'm getting off topic here. So what is an appraisal gap? An appraisal gap is you close on a property for, let's say for the sake of argument, $500,000. The appraisal came in at $450,000. Now you have a $50,000 gap. Now, can a seller credit be added to go ahead and compensate for that gap? No, it can't. It has to be then you have to come to a negotiation. A, is the buyer going to cover that appraisal gap? Or B, is the seller going to go ahead and adjust accordingly to go ahead and sell the home for the current market rate that is appraised for? But what a seller credit does is it helps the buyer to go ahead and cover some of the costs that are associated with purchasing the property. Now, what are those associated costs? Number one is going to be an appraisal. Appraisal is one of them. Appraisals sometimes can come in ridiculously high. Now, if both parties are very, very motivated and they really want to get closed, here, April 2022, where we currently stand, appraisals have become a very, very big issue, and appraisers are asking for X amount of dollars. Now, to get that appraisal done, and because both parties want to go out and make sure they close on time, and appraisals are completely out of our hands, what they do is the seller will say, you know what? So we could get this all done and over with, because the appraiser is asking because what we have is called a rush on the file, right? A rush on the appraisal. If we had to pay a rush on appraisal so we could close on that specific day, I will go ahead and give you a seller credit of $1,000. That is one of them. I will give you a seller credit to cover the prepaids you have on your taxes for X amount of dollars. I will give you a seller credit on X amount of dollars to go ahead and pay for inspections. Now, does a seller typically want to do that? Now, here in 2021, 2022, even in 2020, no, majority of the time you don't, because whenever you do give a seller credit, when you give a seller credit, you're kind of like you're showing your cards. Like if this was poker, you're playing like this. Like, here, look at my cards. You're gonna win. Because if you start giving seller credits in a seller's market, that is just showing something is drastic, like really, really wrong with the property. You're saying that, hey, you know what, I'm desperate to sell. Please, I'll give you anything to go ahead and buy my property, which now we really don't have that problem. Everything is over asking price. Appraisal gaps are a bitch. And yes, it sucks. But as far as the appraisal, the seller credits goes, yes, a seller can give you credits, but none of it could go towards the down payment of that property. Yes, it can go with appraisal. Yes, it can go with inspections. Yes, it can go with any of the prepaids that you might have. But no, it cannot go to anything associated with any type of appraisal gap. So if values come completely way off, you cannot give a seller credit. You can adjust the price of the house, the selling of the house, to go ahead and compensate for that gap that you might have, if that's what you really, really want to decide to. But for the most part, I mean, you know what? It could actually honestly change. I don't even know anymore. Things have changed so much. But if you really want to, you guys could go ahead and give your seller credit to kind of help out with whatever it comes. If the gap comes in way too far off, but you really still want to close, vice versa. Now, another thing that you could go ahead and do with these seller concessions is if you do end up getting into a situation where you want to go ahead and get a seller concession, is you could go ahead and use that seller those seller credits to go ahead and you could go ahead and buy down your rate, which is awesome. Or another little situation is, let's say hypothetically, right, that you were buying a house for $500,000, $500,000. But you want to go ahead and adjust accordingly so you get some seller credits, right? So you get some credits on that. You could actually increase the loan amount as long as you don't get a gap on the appraisal. And you could go ahead and just kind of tie that in depending on how you want to structure the mortgaging product that you have and how your real estate agent goes ahead and structures the deal. But yeah, that in a nutshell is exactly what a seller credit is, where they go ahead and give you a credit to go ahead and help out with some of those prepaids and the settlement costs that you actually have. So if you have any questions, anything that I did not cover, first, I apologize. And secondly, just go ahead and leave a comment below and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. And until next video, for up to 50% commission rebate on purchasing your next home, 0% listing fee, or any mortgaging assistance, link in the description below. Be more than happy to help you out. Until next video, guys, thank you for watching.